The invitation never came. Not by mail. Not by text. Not even one of those lazy family group messages with glittery gifts and fake cheer. But I found out anyway because my aunt posted the save the date on Facebook. Can't wait to celebrate Evan and Kara. The big day's almost here. And just like that, I knew my brother was getting married. And I wasn't invited. I didn't react right away. I didn't scream or cry or call anyone to ask why. I just sat on the edge of my bed, holding my phone, reading every comment like it was some riddle I was supposed to solve. I waited 2 days before I asked. It was my mom who picked up. I kept it simple. I saw the post. Is it true? She didn't even hesitate. Yes, sweetie. It's a small wedding. Just the people who make the couple feel at peace. That last word? Peace? It tasted like poison coming out of her mouth. I said, so I make Evan feel what exactly? She laughed, soft, low, condescending. The kind of laugh I'd heard since I was 13 and too dramatic for crying when my brother trashed my sketchbook. You know how it is, Isla. You're intense. You take up space. Evan just wanted it to be easy. I bit the inside of my cheek. Hard. Got it, I said. You could have just told me. And then she said it, the part that cemented it. Honestly, Isla, it's better without you there. Like she meant it. Like she'd been waiting to say it. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. Perfect, I said. I'll be in Greece that weekend anyway. A pause. Greece? Booked it just now. Well, that seems extreme. No, I said, calm as ever. What's extreme is raising a daughter and then pretending she's not part of your family when the cameras come out. I hung up. Didn't wait for her reply. Didn't give her a chance to backtrack. Instead, I opened my laptop and booked a solo trip to Santorini. Non-refundable. One way. My name is Isla James. And from wherever you're watching this video, stay with me. Because the day they decided I didn't belong was the day I stopped asking for permission to be seen. It didn't start with the wedding. Being left out was just the final, polished version of something I'd lived with my whole life. I was always too much. Too loud when I was excited. Too sensitive when I cried. Too opinionated when I noticed what no one wanted to say out loud. And my brother? Evan was the golden one. The calm one. The center of the family. He could skip my birthday and still be praised for working hard. I'd forget to return a call and be guilt-tripped for a week. I showed up for him. Every time. When he broke his ankle during finals week. I cooked for him, tutored him, helped him pass his classes. When his last girlfriend cheated on him, I sat on the phone with him for 3 hours while he vented. When he lost his job, I helped edit his resume and referred him to my boss. But I was never the easy sibling. When I got promoted before him, it was don't rub it in. When I left an abusive relationship and went no contact for 6 months to rebuild my life, I was being dramatic. The worst part? I believed them. For years, I let myself believe that if I was just a little quieter, a little smaller, a little easier, they'd let me in fully. But every time I handed over a piece of myself, they asked for more. And when I finally stopped, when I started going to therapy, setting boundaries, saying, no, I won't cover for him this time, the cracks turned to walls. I wasn't family. I was friction. And friction doesn't make it onto the guest list. So no, the wedding wasn't the betrayal. The betrayal was the decades of rewrites. The years I was cast as the overreactor, the outsider, the difficult one, just because I dared to say, this hurts. And the wedding? That was just the moment they finally said it out loud. We like it better without you. Fine. I'd spent enough time trying to squeeze into a frame that never fit. I wasn't going to shrink myself one more time for the sake of a photo. Let them have their perfect little wedding. Let them keep their clean story. Because I wasn't going to be the background anymore. I was going to be in Greece, smiling in every picture. There was something liberating about packing a suitcase with no one else's expectations folded inside. No gifts to bring. No emotionally loaded dresses chosen for family harmony. No backup outfit in case someone made me feel like I didn't belong. Just me, a few sundresses, a camera, and silence. The flight to Greece wasn't spontaneous. It was intentional. I didn't want to sit home and sulk while they toasted to their picture-perfect life without me. I didn't want to scroll through filtered wedding stories, pretending I didn't care while my chest tightened. I wanted distance, real, physical distance. So I gave myself the gift they never could: escape without explanation. I booked a small, whitewashed villa in Santorini with a view that stretched so far it made the past feel tiny. The morning I left, my mother texted me, "We'll miss you this weekend. Hope you find what you're looking for." I stared at it for a while, not because I was touched, but because she genuinely didn't understand that what I was looking for was already gone. Respect, belonging, safety. They'd stripped those away one quiet insult at a time, long before they removed my name from the wedding guest list. So I didn't respond. Instead, I zipped up my suitcase, turned off my phone, and held a ride to the airport. On the plane, I watched the sunrise. Not through a screen, not for a post, just watched it. For the first time in years, I wasn't dreading my phone buzzing with another passive-aggressive message or being guilt-tripped into fixing something I didn't break. I landed in Greece with no one waiting for me, and I felt lighter than I had in years. I wandered the narrow, blue-trimmed streets, barefoot in places, letting the island hold me without asking me to be anything but myself. One afternoon, I bought myself a gold ring from a market vendor. Nothing fancy, just something beautiful and whole, like I was finally learning to be. I posted a photo that night, just my hand on a balcony railing, ring glinting in the sun, wine glass in the background, and one caption: "Turns out, peace looks better without permission." No names, no shade, just truth. Within minutes, the comments rolled in. Some from friends, some from family, and one from a name I hadn't seen in months: Cara, Evan's fiancé. "Wow, you look radiant. Hope you're doing well, Yellowheart." I didn't respond, but I smiled, because somewhere someone was realizing I wasn't sulking in a bedroom. I wasn't mourning an invitation that never came. I was living, and I wasn't going to ask them to notice anymore. I was just going to keep being impossible to ignore. Santorini didn't feel like revenge. It felt like reclamation. Every morning, I opened balcony doors and let the breeze rush in, warm, salty, gentle, the exact opposite of the house I grew up in. I didn't check the wedding countdown, didn't peek at guest lists. I wasn't avoiding it. I had simply outgrown it. Instead, I took photos. Not selfies. Photos of the sea spilling over white rooftops, of olive trees dancing in the wind, of myself occasionally smiling, yes, but not for anyone but me. I posted them quietly, without hashtags or attention-seeking captions. But people noticed anyway. The comments started light. "You look so peaceful. Living the dream. I thought you were going to Evan's wedding." That last one came from an old classmate, someone who didn't mean harm, just didn't know the script had changed. I didn't answer, but I could feel the questions multiplying back home, because while I was floating in the Aegean Sea, my absence was beginning to ripple across the picture-perfect wedding. I didn't plan it. I didn't need to. All I did was step out of the frame, and suddenly the image didn't hold the same weight. Mia, my cousin, texted me. "They're acting weird. Everyone's asking where you are. Even Cara looks confused." Then another. "Did you really go to Greece?" I sent her a single photo, my feet in the sand, a white chapel in the distance, ocean behind it like a promise. She replied with a heart. No words, just understanding, because Mia had always seen me. Quietly, softly. She never defended me out loud, but she never laughed at their jokes either. I posted again the next night. A photo of my dinner table, just one plate, one wine glass, sunset dripping down the wall behind it. The caption? "Some tables are better when you sit alone." That one hit differently. I didn't tag anyone, didn't even link it to the wedding. But within hours, my inbox was full. Family friends, co-workers, even Cara's maid of honor, someone I'd barely met once, messaged, "Wait, why aren't you at the wedding?" And that's when I realized something. They hadn't told people. They'd kept me out quietly, without explanation, as if I was the problem and their perfect image would hold without me. But now, their silence was cracking, because I wasn't hiding in shame. I was glowing in Greece, and every photo I posted, every quiet joy I shared, made their story harder to tell. They could paint me as dramatic until I looked peaceful. They could call me selfish until I looked free. They could say I wasn't missed until people started asking where I was. And just like that, the girl they tried to erase became the headline they couldn't control. The wedding day came and went without a word from me, but the silence I left behind, that showed up on time and loud. I woke up late that morning, the Greek sun spilling across my bed. I had no alarms, no obligations, no outfit to approve or speech to rehearse. I pulled the curtains open and just stood there for a moment, barefoot on the cool tile floor, watching the white rooftops glow under the rising light. Back in California, the ceremony would be starting in a few hours. I poured myself a coffee, ate breakfast slowly, watched the sea shift colors like it was breathing with me. Then I opened my phone, not to check the wedding feed, but to post my own view. It was a short video, a pan across the bay, my hand reaching for my coffee cup, my toes dipped in a pool. The caption? Peace. No RSVP required. I didn't think much of it, but by noon, my cousin Mia had messaged me again. Okay, things are awkward. Everyone's asking where you are. Your name came up twice before appetizers even hit the table. Then, 30 minutes later, Kara's dad just asked Evan why his sister didn't show. His answer? She had other plans. I laughed out loud. He wasn't lying, but he didn't say why. And apparently no one else could explain it either, because they hadn't planned for that part. They thought I'd just disappear quietly. But instead, I'd become a question they didn't have an answer for. Back at the wedding, things weren't going according to script. Mia's updates kept coming in between photos of my fresh seafood lunch and a boat ride I hadn't even planned. People are confused. Aunt Teresa is trying to cover for it, but she doesn't even know the full story. Kara looks tense. Your mom's trying to act like nothing's wrong, but she's fidgeting like crazy. And then came the best one. Your post is going around the room. I swear I saw Evan clench his jaw. I didn't respond right away, just stared at the sea and let the breeze wrap around me like the softest no thank you I've ever given. The wedding went on without me, technically, but apparently my name hung in the air like fog. There was an empty chair at the family table that no one would claim. No one wanted to admit why it was there. That chair wasn't just empty. It was mine, and it echoed louder than a toast. Mia sent one more message at the end of the night. Everyone saying it felt off. Beautiful but cold. Like something important was missing. I smiled, because I wasn't missing. I was finally exactly where I belonged. The morning after the wedding, I hiked a cliffside trail that overlooked the sea. I didn't check my phone, didn't refresh any feeds, didn't scroll for glimpses of the ceremony I'd been erased from. I already knew what I needed to know. They noticed my absence. They just didn't know what to do with it. For years, I thought I was the broken piece in a perfect picture. I was the difficult one, the too emotional one, the why can't you just let it go one. But the truth had been clearer than I'd ever allowed myself to admit. I wasn't difficult. I was aware. I saw things they didn't want named. I called out behavior that was easier for them to pretend wasn't there. I remembered every time someone cried in silence and no one reached for them, and I dared to say, this isn't okay. They didn't exclude me from the wedding because I didn't belong. They excluded me because my presence disrupted the story they were trying to sell. A story where everything was fine, where our family was perfect, where no one had ever made anyone feel small, invisible, or replaceable. But you can't build a fantasy on top of someone who keeps telling the truth. That's why they needed me to shrink. That's why they wanted me quiet, malleable, grateful for scraps. I used to think they were uncomfortable with my feelings. Now I know they were uncomfortable with my clarity. And the moment I stopped asking to be included and started building a life outside of their script, that's when the whole thing started to collapse. Not because I attacked them, but because I took away the glue they never acknowledged. People like me, we hold families together in invisible ways. We smooth over arguments. We remember birthdays. We stay late to clean. We send the apology first, even when we're not wrong. And when we stop, the weight falls exactly where it always belonged. On them. That week in Greece, I wrote more than I had in years. In a small leather-bound journal I bought from a street vendor in Fira, I wrote a letter to myself. You're not too much. You were just surrounded by people who wanted less of you than you deserved to give. And for the first time, I believed it. I believed I didn't need to be softer, quieter, smaller to earn space at the table. I just needed a new table. One where love wasn't conditional, where inclusion wasn't a prize, where silence wasn't required in exchange for belonging. I spent my final night in Greece watching the sun melt into the sea. No one called. No one apologized. And I didn't need them to, because I had finally given myself what they never could. Peace. The photos hit social media 3 days after the wedding. I didn't go looking for them. They just appeared, tagged by mutual friends, liked by distant relatives, framed in white filters and fake gold sparkle. Evan and Cara looked beautiful, perfectly posed, matching smiles, hands gently folded over each other like they'd never known conflict, never known anything but sunshine and yes. But their eyes told a different story, at least to me, because I know Evan. I know the way his jaw sets when he's nervous, the forced smile that only stretches the top half of his face, the way he pulls slightly away from people when he feels like something is missing. In every photo, he looked like he was holding something in, or maybe trying to hold something together. It wasn't me who said it first. It was Mia. She texted late that night, no greeting, just the words. You were the glue, you know. I stared at it for a moment, then responded, I know that now. She sent another. It felt hollow. Pretty but hollow. That line stuck with me, because for all their effort, the catering, the florals, the $10,000 photographer, what they couldn't buy was energy, connection, the warmth that fills a room when everyone there actually wants to be. From what Mia told me, the day went off without a hitch, technically, but guests whispered. Aunt Teresa asked 3 people if I was running late. Cara's cousin pulled her aside and asked, Wait, didn't Evan's sister help plan their engagement party? Why isn't she here? Apparently, my name came up more than the groom's father's speech. And no one had a clean answer. They tried. I'm sure of it. They probably blamed my mood swings, my sensitivity, maybe even hinted I was traveling. But no one bought it, because when people are used to you being everywhere, planning, pouring, holding space, your absence isn't invisible. It's glaring. And I didn't need to rub it in. I didn't need to post one last photo or send one last quote or throw back a clever jab. I had already said everything I needed to say by leaving. They were expecting rage. Instead, I gave them peace. And that peace made more noise than anything I could have screamed. That week, I printed one photo for my trip. It wasn't the flashiest one. Not the yacht, not the ruins, not the panoramic cliffside sunset. It was a simple shot. My bare feet in the sand, a glass of wine nearby, a closed book on my lap. Stillness. I bought a wooden frame for it, hung it right where the old family photo used to be. I didn't hate them. I just wasn't carrying them anymore. And in that stillness, something softened in me. Not the part that wanted to be included, but the part that finally understood why I never really was. I wasn't built to play a background role in a story I didn't write. And now, I had stopped auditioning. Somewhere along the way, I stopped checking for messages from them. It wasn't a decision. It was a shift, a subtle internal rewiring. I just no longer needed to know what they thought. I didn't need the apology, didn't need the explanation, didn't even need the justification for why they did what they did. Because I finally understood something no one had ever said to me directly. I wasn't the problem. I was the mirror. I was the one who reflected everything they didn't want to face. Their favoritism, their cruelty, their silence. They could manage a dysfunctional family dynamic just fine, as long as everyone agreed to keep pretending. But I didn't. I asked questions. I named things. I didn't laugh at the jokes that weren't funny. I didn't play along with the gaslighting when someone tried to rewrite the past. And for that, I was branded difficult, hard to be around, uninvitable. Because if I was in the room, someone might have to face what they'd buried under years of fake smiles and bad toasts. They didn't want healing. They wanted harmony, even if it was built on silence. I used to think I had to earn my way back in. Be easier, be nicer, be smaller. But the truth is, I could have shrunk myself to nothing and they still would have found a way to say I was too much. Because the problem wasn't me. It was that I saw them clearly and didn't flinch. And once you stop flinching, you stop fitting. So I made a life that doesn't require me to. A few months after the wedding, I hosted a dinner at my apartment. Not a party, just a gathering. 6 people. Mia came, of course. So did Jules, my old roommate, and Danny from work, who brings joy with her wherever she goes. A couple I met at the wine shop arrived late with homemade bread and 2 extra chairs. We sat around my small table and passed food like it was ceremony. There were no speeches, no performances, just laughter. Real, loose laughter, the kind that rises from the chest and doesn't care who's watching. At one point, Mia leaned over and said, this is what family feels like. And I nodded, because she was right. Family isn't who claims you when you're useful. It's who holds space for you even when you have nothing to offer but your full, imperfect self. I still think about that wedding sometimes. Not with sadness. Not even anger. Just awareness. They'll tell their version of it forever. How I chose to miss it. How I distanced myself. How I overreacted. That's fine. Let them have their story. Because I have mine. And mine is quieter but truer. Mine is about walking away from a table that only served guilt. Mine is about sitting alone in Greece and realizing I was never hard to love. I was just surrounded by people who didn't know how. Mine is about becoming a woman who no longer needs to be seen by the wrong people because she's finally seen by herself. So no, I wasn't the problem. I was the reminder of what they did, of what they ignored, of what they lost when they pushed me away. And now I'm the one who chooses where I go, who I hold, what I build. And I choose peace, the kind you don't have to beg for.